Hi, I'm Dave Fukuyama, and I'm the senior pastor here at Mission Valley Free Methodist Church. I want to thank you for showing interest in our ministry here. In today's video, you're going to learn more about our history and our core values of care, connect, call, and courage, and how they've been lived out in the life of our church. It's important to know where we've come from because it gives us a clue of who we are today and how you can partner with us as we live out our vision of becoming a loving community, inviting and challenging people to move towards Christ. So once again, thank you for coming, and we hope you enjoy your class today. Mission Valley was created in 1919 because of a call heard by a Society of Women of the Free Methodist Church to share the gospel message to the unchurched Japanese in the Los Angeles area. They reached out to Maud Thornton, a former missionary to Japan, to establish a church targeting the Japanese American community. Together with a local Japanese minister, Reverend Sadami Mizukami, they searched for a location in central Los Angeles to plant a church. They decided on an old garage on Jackson Street near Alameda. After scrubbing the walls and floors, the church was born. In 1922, the church was moved to 809 East 1st Street. The ministry of the church began to flourish. Sunday school, Sunday afternoon services, and English classes at night were conducted. Reverend Mizukami would take to the streets every Sunday evening and preach the gospel from street corners. By the 1930s, the area around the church developed into a business district, and this pushed many of the families eastward towards East Los Angeles. And because of this, the service attendance dropped and services had to be canceled. Therefore, they believed they had to move closer to the people. But because of the Depression, the property could not be sold. It was rented out, and a big house on Chicago Street was rented for use for ministry. By the end of the 1930s, America entered World War II. After the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, President Roosevelt ordered the relocation and incarceration of over 100,000 Japanese American citizens into internment camps. Most of the church members were ordered to the camps. The church had to be temporarily shut down. Church members not of Japanese descent showed care for those in the camps by looking after their properties and bringing supplies to those who were interned.
My name is Kay Hirose, and I started coming to LA Free Methodist when I was 3 or 4, many years ago. In the fall of 1945, the church was able to purchase a big 2-story white house on Pennsylvania Avenue. That's when I started church, when I was about 3 or 4 years old. And we really enjoyed the little space that we had. We sang songs and we learned verses. And I really enjoyed church. I really felt that was my first encounter with Jesus and the Lord. And I felt He was always with me no matter what happened to me. Because of the loving care that I received from attending church, I have become a Sunday school teacher for maybe, 10, 15 years. And I really felt the calling that because I received the education about the Bible, that I wanted to impart that on our children at Mission Valley. In 1945, we became self-sufficient, and in a few years we started planning to think about purchasing a bigger facility so that we could spread God's Word. And so later on, in the late 40s and early 50s, we purchased this big church across the street on St. Louis Avenue.
Hi, my name is Junko Kimura, and I've been attending Mission Valley Free Methodist since I was born. In the early 1950s, our church purchased the property across the street from where they were meeting. This location is 200 North St. Louis Street.
It had a huge hallway and a beautiful sanctuary with pipe organs with large pipes you could see. And it was just huge to young eyes. It felt like a church as opposed to just a house. We just felt that God had allowed us to purchase this facility so that we could spread His word.
During that same time, my father came to America as a refugee from Manchuria. While he was there working as a migrant worker, he met Reverend Yoshimasa Shigekawa Sr. Reverend Shigekawa had a unique call where he was reaching out to the migrant workers in the area. My father was so moved by his testimony of God's love and hope and care that he eventually followed Reverend Shigekawa down to Los Angeles when he became the senior pastor here. Because of his testimony, my father became a lifelong Christian, and eventually our whole family became Christians as well. We were so connected to the church and with so many of our experiences that that devotion to Christ and to the church has extended out to even my family now as well. And we're just always so moved by all the care that we've received throughout so many of our life's ups and downs that we're pretty much lifelong members.
I'm Chet Yoshizaki, and I've been a member of this church for almost 65 years now. And when we moved into the new church on St. Louis, it wasn't a new church on St. Louis, it was already 50 years old. So by the 70s, it was time to either move or rebuild. We voted to move, but God had other plans for us. The emotional ties to the neighborhood, we stayed on the St. Louis property and decided to remodel. At the time, I was director of youth ministries, but God called me to help Pastor David Shigekawa with the remodeling project, since my whole career up until that time had been in development and building. And so we went into a remodeling phase of the project. And it took us about a year to remodel, and in December we had our first service in the newly remodeled sanctuary, and it was that week that arsons set the church on fire. I got a call saying that our church was on fire. I rushed down to the church, and that was a matter of 20 minutes, and by the time I got there, the entire church was destroyed. We then moved into a synagogue the following Sunday, and there was our home for the next 2 years. But during that process, God taught us all that while we all had faith, that in God's moving the nation of Israel in the Old Testament, 4 times in the book of Deuteronomy and Joshua, God says to be strong and courageous, not to be discouraged or fear, but to be strong and courageous. And so with that, we move forward with a new project and a new site that God gave us right here in San Gabriel Valley. But at the same time, we had to raise almost $2 million with a very small congregation. But because of the courage and the faith that the members had, is what we have today here at Mission Valley.
Hi, my name is Rand Eguchi, and I've been coming to Mission Valley for 44 years. And God has been good to me. One of the things I've found to be true, at least in my own life, is that He always prepares me for the future. And as I look back in hindsight, one of the things that I've seen as part of His calling for me has always been centered around basketball. You see, way back when I was in high school, a good friend of mine, Aki Takata, invited me to go to church. But it wasn't like going to church in a worship service or a Sunday school program. It was actually going to church to play basketball. And I think that was a way that appealed to me. I probably wouldn't have never come to church if it was to go to a worship service. But going to play basketball, was something that I was interested in doing. See, at the time, when we were at the old church in St. Louis Street, there was a basketball court that was a basketball gym that was actually part of the church. And so I found out that by playing basketball, I became friends with some of the people there. And through some of those friends, I got to meet some of the leaders of the church. And essentially, it was through that and their connection, their concern, their caring for me that I really experienced God's love. And that's what actually led me to become a Christian. Now, it turned out that the gym there didn't last very long because there was a fire. And after that fire, the decision was made by the congregation to move to San Gabriel. And so in 1977, we purchased the land and the multi-purpose room and the classrooms, and later on the sanctuary were built, and that's what later became part of Mission Valley here in San Gabriel. And by the way, you know, there was also a basketball court. And fast forwarding to today, I can now look back in hindsight and see how God prepared me for what lies ahead. For example, I see in basketball, you know, He was preparing me for a calling that was centered around basketball. Today, I'm involved with some of the other leaders like Pastor Phil, Sherwin Serrano, and Pastor Dave himself in terms of working with the Mission Valley Basketball League. And we started that league as an opportunity, you know, not just for people who go to the church or people who are even Christians. From the very beginning, we felt that we wanted an opportunity to not bring people to church, but bring the church to people.
Even though we only introduced our values of care, connect, call, and courage early this year, you could see how they've been lived out and experienced throughout the life of the church. And here are just a few examples of how our people today have applied them to their life and seen God do amazing things in the ministry of our church.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name, we lift our eyes, tune our hearts into your beat. Where we walk, there you'll be, with fire in our eyes, our lives alight, your love untamed, it's blazing out, the streets will glow, forever bright, your glory's breaking through the night. You will never fade away, your love is here to stay by my side, and my
Mission Valley, we're actively striving to become a loving community that is inviting and challenging people to move towards Christ. You just saw how God has been working in our church this past year, and you heard about how God has been moving in our church over the past century. You know, every picture represents a story. These stories tell about God's love and how He's been working in people's lives. Thank you for taking time to listen to our story. But now it's your turn. We'd love to hear about your story. I encourage you to take time to continue this discussion, share with others how God has been leading you, and find out how you can become more involved in our church community.